Hello and welcome. My name is Jordana, and this is What It Is, where we talk about the universe, archetypes, alchemy, quantum reality, spirituality, and how to change our lives to the extent that we are able to manifest our most desired reality. And so I'm basically just bringing you along on my journey, and so welcome. And I've been studying A Course in Miracles, and like to start there. And when I use the word God as it is used at the Course in Miracles, I believe that we all have God in us. So I am speaking to the higher self in all of us, that spark of God, rather than some figure in the sky. So God, the universe, the goddess, the great all, you can substitute whatever makes you feel most comfortable, but just know that I'm using it in the most universal language. And this book has been very instrumental in my life in the last 176 days. And with these just small daily reminders of these lessons that are so easy to forget amongst and amidst all the chaos of life. So lesson 176 is a review lesson. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Give me your blessings, Holy Son of God. God is but love, and therefore so am I. I am as God created me. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And to me, that speaks to, even though they used masculine language, that speaks to the love that we give ourselves and how we orient ourselves back to love within ourselves. Even and especially when we feel challenged by life, or things aren't going exactly as we had wanted them to, or in the timing that we wanted them to. So I'm just going to begin with the cards and get right into it. And across the body line, I read mind, body, soul, past, present, and future. Kind of my own tic-tac-toe version. I don't know, I just started reading this way and it makes the most sense to me. So I feel like the cards are pretty in line with the emotions that I've been feeling this today. I am doing this much later in the day than I normally ever meditate or read cards, although sometimes I've been finding myself lately feeling a need to meditate again in the evening. So here I am in the evening, and in the past position of the mind line, there is 10 of stones in reverse, richness in reverse. So some resistance and mental blocks against the abundance that is wanting to be manifested. But there's a sense of holding back, of not quite believing that you have what it takes, or not being able to move the wheel of life towards your vision in a way that supports you on a financial level, on a physical level, because we all need money to survive. And there's this myth that gets passed around that money is evil, or money is the root of all evil. I've even had that quoted to me. But me being the smartass that I am, I had to quote the actual quote back to them. The love of money is the root of all evil. And it is the attachment to the belief that money is going to make you happy that creates that sense of need and yearning, and that I'll do whatever it takes because then I'll be happy, or I'll feel powerful, So it's not we know as beings that are seekers, that the money will never bring the happiness without the foundation, the inner foundation, the trust and the inner love that is built through the journey of going within and accepting who you truly are. The good and the bad. The parts you love and the parts you wish were changing. The parts you're working on changing. Because if you weren't working at changing, you wouldn't be here in this reading. You wouldn't be with me in this moment if you didn't have a desire to change. And so coming into the present in the body line is victory. 6 of Wands. Fast change. Energy in motion. Linearly moving towards what you want. So there really is that sense. And within this reading, in the future line, which the future could be 2 seconds from now, the past and the present and the future all are really happening simultaneously, depending on where we place our awareness. We could be thinking of the past and then we're living in the past. We could be thinking of the future, and then in that moment, even just in our imagination, we are living and creating a future reality. And depending on how much juice and energy you give it, it can feel really real. Our dreams can feel really real. So in the future line, there's a need to open up, to allow emotions to flow, because we have the Queen of Cups in reverse. And so when those emotions get dammed up, they start to create distortions because they're not being accepted in their fullness and just observed. There's a sense of judgment and a sense of suppression. Because again, in the body line, we have the moon in reverse. So emotions not being accessed, not being brought to the surface so that they can be examined, so that they can be transmuted, so that they can be addressed and moved on from and released from the body. And in the present position of the body, we have virtue. 3 of Wands in reverse. There's that sense of forgetting the necessary elements of life that return us to that connection. With the Wands being in reverse, there's a sense of overwhelm, of being overwhelmed by the energies, the energetic turmoil, and kind of getting lost and having things feel distorted. The truth is obscured somehow. Because there's that sense of seeking the light and the clarity in this card. And so with it being in reverse, there's a lack of clarity. But what one has to remember is that we have our willpower there for a reason, to redirect ourselves, to re-strengthen our resolve, to move through the emotions, to know that we can shed them from the body. And these cards are so picking up on the energy that I've been experiencing lately just within this day. And it's this disconnection. In the spirit line, we have Queen of Stones, and I swear this was in that position yesterday. So I'll have to go back and listen to that reading. Or it was a lot of these cards were in yesterday's reading. But the Queen of Stones in reverse is a disconnection from the spirit. And this is a past energy. So it is disconnecting and a sense of being lost within the mysteries and not being able to find your way back home. And it is only through having a death of the self, with death being in the central position, an ego death, a death of an old identity, the need to let go in order to find one's way back. And the Tower in reverse is directly after that, showing us, like there's so many ways to interpret this, right? There's a sense of holding on to not letting that old paradigm collapse. And what happens when we let something collapse is we get to build something new. But with these emotions not being fully expressed, it is more difficult to engage the will because the world seems distorted, and that dust needs to settle because it's blocking the flow of what's coming in. So there's a sense of discord, of relationships being in disharmony, of emotions and words not being fully expressed, because of a fear of not being accepted, of not having your needs be met. And so it's better to not ask than to ask and not receive. When in truth, the bravery and the courage to ask is the only thing that opens the door. Because those closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't ask, you cannot expect the world to read your mind and know what you need. To know when you need support. To know when you need words of encouragement, when you need reinforcement, when you need bolstering to your foundation. And there's a sense of radical independence to the point of it being a detriment. Because if you're not able to ask for help, there is a fear, there's an underlying fear underneath that inability to admit vulnerability. And it's okay. I'm hyper independent. And so I have a lot to learn about asking for help and about being vulnerable. And so I'm interested to see what the runes say. And I just felt like I had to draw a few more cards from my deck because this is just not sitting well with me, the way that this is so, I've turned the cards upright so I can sense that the energy can be alchemized, but there's still a sense of obscurity. And so I pulled two more cards and we have the Ace of Cups in the upright and the Wheel of Fortune. The need to have fresh beginnings, to let go, let that tower fall and start fresh. Stop trying to build on top of old, crumbling foundations and rebuilding on top of identities that are not empowered. It's okay to let old identities go completely. You don't have to stay the same. You have no loyalty to an old self. There's no need for loyalty to an old self. Just like there sometimes is no need for loyalty to people who don't benefit your highest self, or to circumstances or situations. Yet we tend to invest so much effort in things that we feel obligated or like we're giving up if we don't continue. But to fully synergize in life, you have to be on the same level with your people and your circumstances and your environments. Or put yourself in places that are at higher levels than where you are so that you rise up there. So you rise, you level up. But if you consistently put yourself in old circumstances because it feels comfortable or it's the devil you know, energetically you begin to attune to those circumstances, to those people, to those old behaviors, those old habits. So there's really a need to just start fresh and to believe in your ability to bring whatever you wish into fruition, because you have all the protection. We keep getting this one, algaes. It's all a mirror, and this just continues the story. So I'm just going to use the book a bit as I learn these, as I share them. So again, the runic cross is who you are being right now, the past, the present, the foundation, the challenge, and the best outcome. With algaes in the who you are being right now, this is the ability to protect yourself, to withdraw your energy, to choose, and to be able to explore your emotions with a sense of control. And knowing that this is this transitional time and this time of accelerated self-change, just like the Six of Wands is showing. And the Queen of Cups coming in reverse, showing that those distortions of emotions. And algaes serves as a mirror for the spiritual warrior, the one whose battle is always with the self. The protection of the warrior is like the warning rustle of the sedge grass or the curved horns of the elk, for both serve to keep the space open around you. Remain mindful that timely action and correct conduct are the only true protection. If you find yourself feeling pain, observe the pain, stay with it. Don't try and pull the veil down and escape life by denying what is happening. You will progress. Knowing that is your protection. And Awaz in the past, that was tricky, I couldn't find it. That sense of closing oneself off, defense, avertive powers, avoiding defeat. And you develop an aversion to the conduct that creates stressful situations. An aversion to conflict even. And there appears, like the rest of the reading has been saying, that there's a blockage. But sometimes these delays are beneficial. And don't be too eager to press forward, because sometimes you need to wait until there's a better time to let your influence be heard or felt. So it's taking that time to discern within what it is you really want from a situation, so that you're not acting from a place of like hectic, frantic energy or lusting and needing a certain outcome. It's the challenges that come when you're beginning a new life. Again, the Ace of Cups. Starting something new is always going to require new behaviors, new thoughts, new emotions. New causes are going to create new effects. You can't create a beautiful life from a place of distrust, from a place of resentment, from a place of frustration, from a place of fear. Everything that you desire is created through love. And when you create through love, that's when you change your world. And that's when you start to take the right actions at the right time. You exert your will when it's necessary, when the time is right. When you've let the dust settle. When you can see the situation with more clarity, then you turn the wheel. And so it takes great perseverance and patience to wait out these times of chaos or conflict, miscommunication. But when you decide that is the way that you are going to behave, you're going to be patient, you're going to discern, you're going to go within and examine what it is you really need out of this situation or what you're really looking for, things become much easier. Because you're no longer resisting the work that it takes to bring your desires into fruition. So, what is being put on notice here is to recognize that through the inconvenience and through the discomfort, growth is promoted. And it may be a very trying time. This shit doesn't feel good. But when you're able to be within the discomfort and find peace and find clarity and find calm and recenter yourself and realign to your vision, the Six of Wands at the top, let those old identities go and remember who the fuck you are and what you came here for. And Rado, in the position of the future in the reverse, Rado is all about communication. That is the ultimate. Communication, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with a business partner, a client, or the universe. It's turning to the teacher within. And right now, this is just pointing again to the sense of disturbance that is in this reading, the sense of disturbance that is just in the air, the lack of clarity. So it's asking you to be particularly attentive to personal relationships and to understand that right now may not be the time to act, because you're more likely to further rupture things than to reconcile. And so it's asking you to keep a good humor, regardless of what shows up. This is just the process. And the requirements of the process may be completely different than what you've anticipated up until this point. We can only want what we want, but we don't necessarily know how we're going to get there. And it might feel like the outcomes that you really want are eluding you right now. But what you're thinking of as detours and side quests and obstacles and disruptions and failures and deaths are actually taking you to your next opportunities. They're opening doors for you. And union and reunion are the only abiding outcome. It's the only destination. Because we all die in the end, and then we all are reunited with the great all, completely. Without our human ego and our mind and our body getting in the way, we become spirit, one with God, as God created you. That spark. And so the foundation of everything, and this kind of lays the foundation for the entire reading, is Uruz. And Uruz is all about foundational energy, having the strength to withstand the disruptions, new beginnings, endings and new beginnings, termination and new beginnings. The life you've been living has outgrown its form. So it must die so that that life energy can be released into a new form, into a new birth. It's a rune of passage, and it's part of the cycle of self-transformation. Positive growth and change always involve that journey into the darkness, because that's how we undergo that perpetual renewal. The progression consists, like nature, it mirrors nature. And so the 5 parts of that progress are death, decay, fertilization, gestation, and rebirth. And so the events that are happening right now may well prompt you to undergo a death within yourself, since self-change is never so coerced. We are always free to resist and remain. We're always free to resist and to stay clinging. The tower in reverse is when you resist the change and you cling to those old things because you have this intense emotional bond to them. But if you have such an intense emotional bond to something outside of yourself, you're giving your power away to it. And in order to move forward in a clear way, you have to pull that power back, call that power back. And so sometimes these bonds have to be severed, these relationships have to be radically altered so that we can move forward. And have the willingness to look within the ashes, to see what remains, to see after the dust has settled, where do we go from here? And so the original symbol for this rune, Uruz, or Uruz, I'm not positive about my pronunciation, so feel free to come for me in the comments. It's the wild ox. And it's an almost impossible task to domesticate a wild ox. But if it happens, that strength, it's able to transport the most heavy loads because it's been conditioned to do so. So learning to adapt yourself to the demands of such a creative time. Firm principles attached to this rune. And at the same time, humility is called for, since in order to rule, you must first learn how to serve. This rune puts you on notice that your soul and the universe are supporting your new growth. And Ansus comes in the place of the challenge, waiting for the proper time, waiting for the signals. It's the messenger rune, ruled by the god of Loki. It's the first of the 13 runes that make up the cycle of self-transformation. Runes that focus directly on the mechanisms of self-change. The keynote here is receiving messages, signals, gifts. Even a timely warning may be seen as a gift when the messenger rune brings sacred knowledge. One is truly blessed. The message may be that a new life is unfolding. New lives begin with new connections, linkages that lead us to new pathways. Take pains to be especially aware and conscious, especially during meetings and visits and chance encounters. There is a new sense of solidarity, of familiarity that gets introduced by this rune. Yet Loki is the arch thief, the ancient trickster dating back to the Indo-European conception of the gods. He is the Heyoka of North American Indian folklore, a mocking shadow of the creator god, as well as a culture hero who, like Prometheus, is the bringer of benefits to humankind. Through association with the Norse god Loki, Mercury overshadows this rune. In mythology, a strange androgynous figure, keeper of the keys to knowledge, Mercury carried messages between the gods and between the gods and humanity. This rune symbolizes the urge to integrate unconscious motive with conscious recognition. Drawing it tells you that connection with the divine is at hand. For Ansus is the signal to explore the depths, the foundation of life, and to experience the inexhaustible wellspring of the divine in your nature. You are reminded that you must first draw from the well to nourish and give to yourself. Then there will be more than enough to give to others. And Wonjo comes in the place of the future, in the best outcome. Yet Wonjo is in reverse in this spread, and Wonjo is the rune of joy. And so this emotion, when one isn't able to feel the fullness of all of their emotions, the great sadness of life, the flip side of that is great joy. And so if you don't allow yourself to feel that sense of completeness emotionally, it slows things down, shown in the 10 of Stones in reverse. The potential is there to move so quickly with the 6 of Wands, but we're slowing things down. The process of birth is long and arduous, and fears arise for the safety of the child within. A crisis, a difficult passage, even if brief, is at hand. Consideration and deliberation are called for, because light and shadow are still intermixed, and doubts and scruples may interfere with the joyousness if not understood as timely to your growth. So stop your anxiety and ask yourself whether you possess the virtues of seriousness, sincerity, and emptiness. To possess them is to have tranquility, which is the ground for clarity, patience, and perseverance. Seen in its true light, everything is a test. And so focused in on the present, sincere toward others, and trusting in your process, know that you cannot fail. And so that wraps it up so beautifully, because there is this deep sense of distortion, anxiety, and discord. But it's all put there for you to learn. The universe is happening for you, not to you. And the only way to heal is to make these unconscious patterns and beliefs aware. Make them conscious. Become aware of yourself. Examine yourself. Be your own greatest teacher. You have all the answers you need within. And if you are having trouble finding them within, you are a conduit between the heavens and earth. And you can channel from source just like anyone can, because you're fully equipped. You're like an antenna. You can put out the signal to get the information you need and just download it straight from source. And the answers will come. But the answers don't come when there's a bunch of noise happening or distraction. And you're so caught up scrolling or watching or consuming that you are unable to have that stillness necessary to receive the messages, to be the channel. And so, as I encourage myself, I encourage all of you to take time every day to reorient yourself to where it is that you want to go, and to be intentional with yourself, and to notice when you move off, when you stray off the path, and for what reason, and to gently guide yourself back. There's no need for punishment. We've all had enough punishment in life. There's no need for shame. We've all had enough shame. There's no need for anger or rage or feeling unworthy, because we all are worthy, because we all are one, and we are one with the universe. And so, without further ado, this is where I'm going to leave you today. This feels like a complete stop. And I send you all of my love as we all navigate through these challenges. No one is immune to the challenges of life. And there are resources and tools out there for all of us. In fact, I'll just plug my own resource that I have. It's an 11-day experience. And you can grab the link below in the comments if you want to check it out. And it guides you through the process of learning to attune yourself to becoming that clear channel, so that you can access all of this knowledge. And so if you'd like to have that experience, feel free to grab that. And I hope that it helps you along your journey. And I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you so much.